Hello everyone, welcome back to Hot Stuff Macargo's channel. This video is part 2 of the repair title, How to Replace the AC Compressor and the Receiver Dryer on a 2003 Mini Cooper. During the previous video we removed the old AC compressor, and what today's video is going to be about is obviously installing the new one, but also how to replace the receiver dryer. And I'll be finalizing this tutorial with a third video that's going to show how to charge the system properly. So the next step is to remove the old dryer. The receiver dryer on a Mini is located right here, so it's actually easy to get to. One of the things that's going to make it easier to remove it due to clearance is to remove the bolts right here and fasten the AC condenser to the radiator. That way when you loosen it up, it slides right out. 10 millimeter. And like I said, if you remove the other one, it'll give you more clearance, but this might be just enough. Okay, so one of the things that I noticed, this AC condenser has been replaced. It appears that the previous owner replaced it with something from a different year, because this is what the dryer should have looked like. So instead, this one has the bag style inside. Right there. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to go get a new one of these. Unfortunately, I couldn't use the actual dryer that this vehicle came equipped with, because like I said, the previous owner already replaced it with something else. I'll have to return this one, and I'm going to go ahead and exchange it for a new one. But prior to installing the new one, I'm going to go ahead and flush everything out of the condenser and the lines again. So what I did, I flushed the AC condenser and I flushed the lines again. And I went to my local auto parts store and I have a new element to put inside here. Prior to installing the cap, I'm going to lubricate the seals with pack 46 so they don't get ripped when I install it. Keeps a leak from developing. I'm going to install the bolts back on, which in this case I didn't even need to remove them since it had the wrong dryer, but in your case it's very likely that you do. So and obviously I'm going to install on the other side the same way. Before installing the new compressor, remove the covers, obviously. I probably don't need to tell you, but it's way better to install the new bolts when installing the new lines on. Alright, so the oil that's in it needs to be emptied because it has to have the correct amount. So apparently there's not much in it. Looks like it was just enough to put it together. There's some coming out. When I looked up the specs on the capacities for the air conditioning on the Mini, the pack 46 has to be 150 grams and the refrigerant is 415 grams. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this very small scale right here to make sure I put the correct amount. When you're using this scale, you're going to get the weight of the fluid, but also the weight of the can. You want to add about half to the compressor, and once you do, then you're going to prime it by turning it several times so it's lubricated. So I have a brand new container of PAG 46 oil sitting on the scale. It is about 300 grams right there. And what that means is by the time I'm done adding the oil to the compressor and the system, the reading needs to be 150, because obviously that will mean that I added 150 grams of liquid. Okay, so it's super crucial to add the correct amount of both oil and refrigerant to any system, because if you don't add enough oil, it's going to destroy the compressor. If you add too much oil, then there's not going to be enough room for the refrigerant, and your system is not going to cool properly. Same thing, you add too much refrigerant, you run the risk of destroying the AC compressor, because if it's that much, it could even hydrolock. So it's very important to always look at the specs for any vehicle that you're working on. That way you add the correct amounts of both and your system works properly. So what I'm going to do now, just like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to add a little bit of oil, okay? Because I don't need to add the entire 150 grams to the compressor itself. I just need to add enough to prime it. And how I'm going to prime it, like I said, is by turning it. I have a few bubbles. So I'm going to spin it several times, both directions, until the oil circulates. That way when the AC clutch engages for the first time, the compressor is not going to be dry. Perfect. So, okay, so I got the compressor primed, and now it's just a matter of installing it on the vehicle. What I'm going to do for right now, so nothing gets in, is going to put these plugs until I'm ready to connect the lines. That way the oil doesn't leak out too. Make sure you connect the connection prior to installing it. And obviously finish tightening all 3 bolts with your ratchet. So once the 3 bolts that hold the compressor have been tightened properly, it's time to replace the seals for the lines before connecting them. That way you can prevent possible leaks. Okay, so just locate the seals that are the same diameter in your seal kit that you received when you purchased your new compressor, and install them on both lines. Once you have installed the correct seals, lubricate them with a very light coat of PAG oil, like this. So I'm going to install the first line. Kind of careful, make sure that the seal goes in smooth so it doesn't get ripped. Make sure that it's tight. I'm just going to snug it a little bit, about the same level that it was when I took it off. There's no need to over tighten it. Just make sure that it's unsecure, because the seal is provided by the O-ring, not the pressure off the line against the compressor, because you don't want to strip the aluminum housing off the AC compressor. Guide the other one in carefully. Same thing, so the seal doesn't get ruined. Install a new bolt. Snug it. So both lines are secure. Once I start it, make sure everything is working properly. I'll just fasten this more secure with zip ties. So where we at so far? The AC compressor and the AC dryer have been replaced, and the lines were disconnected throughout the car to flush the system. The more lines you disconnect and the more you flush them, the better chances you have of removing any debris or any metal particles that could be in the system that could eventually end up in the new compressor, destroying it. So that's already been done, and the next step is to add the remaining oil. So we know that this car takes 150 grams of PAG 46 oil, and I need to add some more. And the brand new bottle of PAG 46 that I have here, when I showed you earlier, was 300 grams, and that included the weight of the bottle, which in this case we're not going to worry too much, because I'm going to add the oil to the system until it reaches 150, which at that point it's pretty obvious I added 150 grams. So I'm going to do it through here. I'm going to remove this cap. I'm going to remove this fitting. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a small funnel and a clear hose to add the oil into the system. Okay, so I have this clear hose that fits tight right here, so I don't lose any oil, because it has to be accurate just like I said. And I'm going to go ahead and add the oil until I reach the 150 grams. Okay, it looks like just a little bit more. Alright, so based on the reading on the scale, that is 150 grams that are going to be added completely once it all goes down. Alright, so it looks like by moving the hose sideways like that, the air bubbles come out quicker and the oil goes in faster. So that's pretty much the last bit of it. I'm going to go ahead and coat this with a little bit of PAG oil, the seal. Make sure it doesn't get ripped. It's just a matter of removing the clear hose, installing the low side fitting back on. Make sure it's snug. No sense of creating a leak. Okay, so we have added the correct amount of oil to the system, 150 grams. Once the correct amount of oil has been added to the system, it's time to apply vacuum for two reasons. One, when you apply vacuum with a vacuum pump, it removes the moisture that entered the system when everything was disconnected. Plus, it will also remove the vapors that may still be present from the solvent that we ran through the system. That way all the stuff gets clean. Last but not least, one of the main reasons to apply vacuum to the system with a vacuum pump is to make sure that there are no leaks. Because if the system doesn't hold vacuum, something's leaking. So before you waste your money trying to add a refrigerant that is going to leak out, it's better to be wise. Apply some vacuum and find out if there's a leak before you add anything to it. Okay, so let's start with the basics. You will need your vacuum pump, obviously, and you'll need an AC manifold gauge set. Whether the vacuum pump is yours or is part of the loan and tool program, make sure that it has oil, because if it doesn't, you're going to burn it up. Go ahead and remove the caps, the low and the high side, because that's where the manifold gauge is going to be connected. Okay, so start with the valves closed, which is counterclockwise, and these are quick connect fittings, so you just pull in it and push and then let it go, and then it's on. Same thing, just make sure it's counterclockwise first, so it's closed. Snap it in place, release it. And on the gauges, we're going to start in the closed position for right now, which is clockwise. It's the opposite. Okay, so vacuum pump's connected, and remember, make sure it has oil. You have the vacuum hose connected to the center, and the gauges right now should read 0, both of them, and then I have them closed right now. So next step is to turn the vacuum pump on. And when we open them, it draws vacuum. So they go below 0. And we're going to open these right here. By turning them clockwise. You can hear the pump changing. Yeah, it's working. Throwing vacuum. And open this one too. Okay, so they're both open, and remember, these, they open clockwise and these open counterclockwise, so they both should be way below 0 because it's pulling vacuum. Okay, so the vacuum pump needs to remain on for at least an hour, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to use that time to install the remaining components like the serpentine belt. I'm going to install the lower mount that I removed, the power steering fan. So pretty much put everything back together while this pump is running. That way I can utilize the time and don't just wait just for the sake of waiting. You can do the same thing, it's up to you. This pump will be running for an hour, and I'll show you what to look for after that. Alright, so the vacuum pump's been running for about an hour and a half. I already installed everything, the mount, the belt, the power steering fan, and it seems like it's holding vacuum. So the next step is I'm going to turn the pump off, and I'm going to let it set for an hour, maybe even 2 hours, and I'm going to come back and see if it's holding vacuum, which if it does, that's going to be an indication that it's a sealed system and I can proceed to charge it. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to bring the camera up close right now. Pump is off and it's holding vacuum. So there it is. They're both below 0. I'm going to go ahead, like I said, and let it sit for an hour or 2, and when I come back, the readings need to stay the same, which, like I said, that's going to mean that it's holding vacuum and the system is sealed properly and there are no leaks. It's been a couple of hours since I turned the vacuum pump off, and like I said earlier, I wanted to see if it was going to hold vacuum, and looking at the gauges, they're still reading the same thing. So the system is sealed completely. We know that for sure now. And the next step is going to be to charge the system, obviously. However, this is going to conclude part 2 of this series. And on part 3, I'm going to show you how to charge it correctly.